I would like to acknowledge that this podcast is being recorded on the traditional lands of the Boon Wurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which Glen Ira is located. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge and uphold their continuing relationship to this land.
Welcome again back to the Swinburne Professional Staff Network podcast, the podcast Professionals with Kristy and Ash, made by professional staff for professional staff. Kicking off another amazing podcast for the SPSN network. All our podcasts are in fact amazing as rated by us. So we're hoping that you are enjoying them actually, and we're getting some great feedback, which is telling us not to stop podcasting. So we will not stop podcasting. Unstoppable, in fact. Today we actually have a guest. I have not met this guest in my time at Swinburne as yet. So we're going to be chatting to Dominique Goodwin. But before Dominique comes in, I'm going to also welcome back, as always, partner in crime, Kristy. Welcome back to the line.
Thank you, Ash. Absolutely fantastic and amazing intro. It's great to see you, as always, and your beautiful homemade earrings. Very nice. And I'm kind of surprised, and it's hard to believe that we're actually going to chat to someone who you don't know. Ha-ha. So I'm a bit excited to introduce you to Dominique and, of course, our amazing listeners. And, yeah, so this will be it'll be good for you to kind of meet someone new.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different school.
Yep. I mean, in fairness, there are many, many people at Swinburne that I don't know. It just so happens we haven't interviewed many yet, although that was my first time meeting Tim and Marie for our very first podcast as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Actually, I did chat to Marie during the week. So, yeah, awesome stuff. Hey, before we jump into the chat with the lovely Dominique, I wanted to ask you, Ash, how are you going and how's your job going? Because I know you are super busy, you juggle a lot of things, and this is kind of creepy but funny, but I have access to your calendar, which looks like a patchwork quilt and lots of meetings. So, tell me about your amazing skills.
So, I mean, I think we're all run off our feet, busy, just with this time of year, obviously with commencement of semester 2, but before that, obviously admissions, intakes, marketing across the month, the middle of the year is also incredibly run off its feet, and as well as a lot of your operations groups, particularly finance and budgeting. So in different areas, everyone's pretty busy. My calendar, it is a calendar, like many people, that is a bit, there's a lot more filled space than blank space. But part of that is I actually first would recommend everyone do this. I do read Cortana and use Cortana, which sends you emails every so often. Sorry, Mum, I've already said last time. 6 times. That Cortana will send you an email and say, you have a lot of meetings and not much time for some work. Would you like me to book you some focus time? So I've read those emails and it's an automated thing. And I said, yes, I would. So sometimes it's automatic bookings in my calendar. There's some events that are there so I know that they're happening, or they involve one of the teams that I need to know about. And then there is also there is quite a lot of meetings. However, I think particularly working remotely, but even without it, I think there needs to be generally a balance between meetings and emails, and working remotely. Email flood that was already happening can be so much more prevalent. So yes, there's a lot of meetings in there. However, I actually think it saves a lot of emails and keeps us, again, connected instead of just on email. So I part of my calendar being very full is actually by design. So we have a lot of different catch-ups across different areas and then internally as well. So there is method to the madness, I think, and it works for me.
That's good. And when you, we talked about Cortana some time ago, and I go in and out of accepting all of the focus times and the reply to email times, but it can be really helpful just if you are juggling across different roles or different projects that you got happening. So, yeah, I like to colour code my calendar too. Isn't that funny? So it just makes it easier to see what's going on. Like you work across different areas, so it does make it pretty helpful. So you've got lots of things that you're juggling, and I hope you don't mind that I just pop into your calendar from time to time.
No, I don't mind. Anyone that I work with often, and this is something that I picked up actually when I was working in FHAD years ago when I first worked in FHAD, that people you work with often, I just give access to see just what the appointment is generally, and if it's something confidential, it goes in as a private appointment, obviously, but it's also about if people need to find me, it's just easier. So I'm also calendar transparency where appropriate as well.
True.
Yep.
True that.
Lurk in my calendar all you like.
Thanks, because then I know when to annoy you. Hey, Ash, before we get chatting to our VIP guest, I've got a couple of things I have to get off my chest. Hope you don't mind. The first one is good news. I'm going to jump straight into the pod of podcasters, which is growing with momentum. We chatted about it in our last podcast, but we yesterday met with the amazing people from LTU and also Swin Commons. Hello to everyone out there. We know you're all listening. I saw you guys. Thank you. And we're working together to redesign and improve how the Swinburne podcasting community is viewed on Swin Commons. And we're creating a community of practice. It sounds super fancy, and it's going to be amazing because there's actually a lot of people doing podcasts. And actually I connected with somebody just recently, Deborah Saltmarsh. I know she's listening too. She does a Safer Community podcast, a Swinburne community. So it's all these different things are happening. So what we're doing is we're building like a center hub, and it'll be your go-to place to figure out who's doing podcasts at Swinburne, and it's actually going to improve the way that we can search and look and see what other people are doing. So that's super exciting, and I'm leading the charge with a bunch of people there. So
amazing. And I actually think I think we have to figure out a term for the Kristy effect, right? Because this is what happens. There's an idea and then a conversation, and people are like, yeah, this would be good. And then you add Kristy to the mix, and all of a sudden it's happening, and then everyone's connected, and then, former PMs are calling you, and then the CEO of Greenpeace is having tea. I know I'm exaggerating the having tea part, but seriously, in terms of it is the Kristy effect of something that's confirmed as a good idea to getting it moving and getting traction.
I think you're onto it there. Yeah, thanks, Ash. No, I love that. I think you're right. Sort of like the butterfly effect, but the K-horn effect, we like to call it.
The K-horn effect, yes.
So that's exciting news. And also, don't tell anyone, but we are meeting with...
We're literally telling everyone that's listening.
Oh, yeah, but this is between you and me, right? Monday we're chatting with the amazing Catherine Moody, because we are in, negotiations to chat with Pascal. We're going to get her on the pod. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You better sharpen up. We better sharpen up our skills in all sorts of areas.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she's heard colourful language before, but there is something about, I feel like I need to say less, and maybe just not swear if possible, which I think we've mostly avoided that or bleeped it out on the podcast.
We're doing really well.
Everyone who's met me, but also either side of recording is a lot of colourful language, shall we say. I don't want to be feature
We've got a bloopers reel that we will be releasing later in the year. It's fully X-rated, and be behind a paywall, I think.
Yeah. Oh, hey, side hustle. No.
There, okay.
I feel like there's a whole conflict of interest thing that Swinburne would tell us off for.
Yeah, you'd be on.
Disclaimer: we're not actually making a side hustle for anyone that doesn't know us. And here's that: we are absolutely 100% joking.
That bit's bleeped out. Don't worry about it. Hey, also before we catch up with Dominique, I did also want to tell you about. You're probably even wondering about the Olympic competition I was in with the sports research group. You're nodding.
I was actually asking about that the other day.
Yeah. And well, in fact, we won gold. Me and my teammate Dan Ferguson, we came out on top of the competition. We had China in our team, won the most medals, and I just want to say thank you to China, ni hao.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe, yes, it was probably the Olympians, but maybe it was, the K-Horn effect and dynamic of the PhD student.
We basically smashed it. So we were lucky to have China, Romania and Nigeria. They were just like making up the numbers pretty much. But we did have a really good couple of weeks there with the SERG research group, and they ran a pretty awesome Olympic competition. So that was fun. I've got other stuff up my sleeve, but do you know what? I can hear there's somebody knocking at the door. That
Absolutely.
is our VRP guest. So how about we do the introductions in a moment and welcome in Dominique Goodwin. Hello and a very warm welcome to the lovely Dominique Goodwin from the Department of Global and Community Engagement. Hello and welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you, Dominique. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Swinburne Professional Staff Network podcast Professionals with Kristy and Ash.
Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, this is a first for Ash because you guys haven't met before, and we were just saying that Ash knows pretty much everyone in the university.
Maybe not everyone in the university. But yeah, I've been around Swinburne for a wee while.
Yeah, you are a connector.
To meet you.
You're a connector. I think we're all kind of got those connecting tentacles, across the university, which is
literally
awesome.
Picturing myself as an octopus type sort of weird sci-fi thing happening right now.
I'm thinking lunch, calamari and chips.
Don't eat me.
Hey?
He does not want to be eaten. Squid me wants to merrily swim in the ocean, or however that works. And sorry, Dominique. I begin this to a new level of weird. I think that's the first time I've imagined myself as some sort of weird creature on the podcast. So that's a new level. Thank you for bearing with us.
It always ends with.
We're in lockdown at the moment, so I think all measures of insanity are permissible under the current circumstances.
Excellent. That's what we like. So what about you, Dominique? Do you want to tell us a bit about your role at Swinburne and your time at Swinburne so far, how long you've been here and some of the amazing things you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work in the government industry and community engagement team, focusing on industry engagement. And I've been at Swinburne since late 2018, which is really exciting. So I've been with the university, for a short time, as far as most people. You meet a lot of people that have been at the university for a really long time. So this is nothing, I'm still a baby in Swinburne years. But nonetheless, I've had, some really good opportunities to meet so many people at the university through my role. So I've worked.
That's still a fair few years.
It is. There's people in the team that I work in who have been at the university for like 10 years, and they're the same age as I am. So I can't really compare to that.
Can I just Can I just interrupt and say I just happened to be in on a meeting with Dominique within your first week.
You did actually, yes. We met when I was super fresh.
Yeah, that's right. I came in to talk to Sophia about the CXI research group, and she said, "Do you mind if I bring along my colleague?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then, Dominique and I have known each other for a long time now.
I know you're one of my OG Swinburne friends, which is nice. Original OG. The original.
Sorry, elderly here.
No, it's all good. So
yeah. All right. Yeah. So sorry, we interrupted you. Keep going.
No, that's okay. So our team is considered very much the front door to the university. So we get the weird, the wonderful, and the amazing through sort of a central point, and we scope opportunities for the university. So somebody might email the university and say, "I'd like to do an advertisement, and I want to work with film and television students. How would that happen? Is it possible?" And, in my role, I'll go to the film and TV school and I'll speak to the academics there. I'll let them know a little bit about the opportunity, and then we'll kind of take it from there in terms of opportunity development. But as soon as that lead has kind of been qualified and there's interest from the business area or the school, I sort of refer things over and then step and just keep doing that kind of very early stage scoping and opportunity development work with a focus on the design disciplines, social sciences, film and television, media and comms, those sorts of areas, which is really, really exciting. And in addition to that, we also do major partnership management. So I've been really lucky to be able to look after Swinburne's partnership with ACMI, which was formalised in 2019, early 2019. And prior to that, there'd been a number of collaborations dating back for years on the academic side of things, so students doing projects with ACMI and a whole bunch of really interesting research into, digital media, digital cultural heritage, things like preserving video games. So taking, video games from the 80s that you can't play anymore and creating sort of software environment that enables them to be played and also safeguards them for future generations. So that's really interesting research. And so the partnership kind of grew out of that area. And now it has lots of different aspects. So we've got Swinburne Studio at ACMI, which is a named space. It's a multi-purpose event space. And ACMI host, events and public programs and, a whole range of different things. The comedy festival, like in non-COVID times, the comedy festival is hosted in there, as well as the Melbourne International Film Festival, as well as Swinburne does a whole range of really interesting programming. And hopefully once we get out of this lockdown, we'll be having Swinburne Presents Next Gen Now at ACMI, which is a week-long event, hopefully, where Swinburne academics will have and students will have their work on display. So there'll be VR experiences that are interactive. There'll be a games arcade. There'll be, prior academic collaborations between Swinburne and ACMI. There'll be student film and television work. And a lot of information and examples of, the points where the media and communications students and academics, as well as the film and television and animation students and academics really excel. And others, I'm sure I've forgotten. If I've forgotten you, I'm sorry. Some of the School of Design's work is also on show. So it really is a great example of Swinburne's academic capabilities, which is it's really exciting. So we've got, that fantastic space at ACMI, but we've also got a number of active research projects, which is really, really good to see. Those continue. Some new projects in development, which I can't talk too much about. All I can say is that, watch this space. Top secret, so super secret. But
this is the cone of silence is on here, so you can tell us anything.
Oh, I can, but I can't broadcast it. So I'll just put that taster, and maybe in a year's time we can catch up again, and I'll be able to tell you about those projects. But some really interesting things in the pipeline. and some great student opportunities as well. So ACMI have this thing called the Lens. I've actually got it on my desk.
Is this from yes, at ACMI.
Yeah,
I can't
ACMI.
wait to get in.
That.
Yeah. So the Centre for Design Innovation actually worked on developing these lenses, like the physical cardboard thing that you see here. They were originally supposed to be made out of plastic, and ACMI had some concerns around the ecological footprint of that, and also leading into COVID, the usability of that, because they had originally thought people would take one and then return it. They were worried about things like theft, and so they wanted something that people could take home with them to have a post experience. So there's a little unique identifying code on the back of it, and what it means is you go around the exhibition, and every time you see this little circle, you can touch down the lens, which has a NFC chip, so a near field communication chip in it, and it will sort of store all of these things that you're curating as you go through their new permanent exhibition, which is the story of the moving image. And then when you get to the end of that exhibition, it culminates at a point called the constellation. And you can put your lens down and it shows you connections between all of the things that you've curated on your individual trip throughout the gallery, which is really, really interesting. And even better is that Swinburne students actually got to do some of the research into the constellation through a student project. So, they're drawing connections between traditional Japanese culture and the tracksuit worn by Uma Thurman in Kill Bill and Bruce Lee and all of these really interesting things, finding connections that, to somebody who doesn't do research into that space, it might not be obvious or apparent, but you really get to see how all of these different cultural references are connected, which is fantastic. So, and then you get to take your lens home and you can use that code to log in online and you can learn even more about the things that you were interested in at the gallery. So the physical lens, the cardboard lens that you see, there was a lot of work done by the Centre for Design Innovation and Blair Keys and his team to make sure that it met all of ACMI's requirements in terms of sustainability and those sorts of things, which is it's great. And then the students working on the Constellation project, which is where the lens culminates, is just a beautiful kind of end-to-end example of how the ACMI partnership touches across research, but also, student learning opportunities and even more, I suppose.
Your role sounds really diverse, Dominique, and you have a lot of different connections throughout the university. You must have a really good feel of what's going on around the university, and there seems to be a lot happening.
Yeah, there is. It's been amazing to see how people have kind of bolstered together and kept the wheels turning during, a time of crisis, essentially through this pandemic, and to see particularly, collaborations continue through this time demonstrates the strength of the relationships that are cultivated, not just by our team, but by every single individual that works with an industry partner, and the way that they do that work and how they advocate for Swinburne and build those connections and linkages with industry. It's great to see.
Because there's that's happening, but also on the other side of things, it's been challenging because there's been a lot of change as well. And I know in your area, there's been a lot of change. So tell us how your role's changed.
Yeah, so our team used to be called the Collaboration and Partnerships team, and we sat within an engagement, like a dedicated engagement vertical back when I started. And then a year after that, we moved to sit within research, and research became research and enterprise. And then last year, through that larger restructure, we got put into a new portfolio, which is global and community engagement. And it makes a lot of sense because we sit with marketing and communications as well as international. So a lot of the industry-facing teams have been brought under one umbrella again, and it means that there's an opportunity to work more efficiently, to share information more efficiently, and to remove any kind of duplication of work, which is good.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also meant to change slightly in my role. So there's three people that do the same role, including myself, each with a different focus. So I look after the business of law and the sort of media and communications and education partnerships. And then we've got someone that looks after health and someone else that looks after engineering and sciences. And then we also interface with the respective areas of PAVE that those sort of key portfolios align to. So we cover the whole university from TAFE through to higher ed, which is really exciting. One of the things that I've been working on this year is the account management framework with Daria Cicchini, and that feeds directly into the industry engagement strategy that the university has been developing, and that initiative is being led by Andrew Smith. But it's really, really great to see a university-wide engagement strategy being developed, and then the subsequent bodies of work like the account management framework having the opportunity to be developed. And it'll be good to see, down the track how that's endorsed and then implemented. But we've kind of put the finishing touches on the final draft. Literally, that's what I was doing this morning. So
right.
It'll be great to see how it develops over the next year or so. So I think through sort of condensing the team and condensing our team in particular, I'd highlighted opportunities for process improvement, which is something that we've been working with and over the course of the year. And it's something that I enjoy too, looking from a more operations lens and a strategy lens to see how we can continue to do great work and adapt. Yeah.
Fantastic. So before this lockdown, were you back on campus, Dominique? And what was your kind of plan?
I mean, I did come back into the office. I don't live that far away from Swinburne, so I've got the benefit of, if I wanted to come in for half a day, it's only down the road for me. So, and there was plenty of places to park and all those sorts of things. It wasn't too complicated. Our team was coming in on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, which was great because we got to do, a lot of the work that we do is collaborative, and because we've been doing so much process improvement this year, working on strategic initiatives, that work is always done best face-to-face, where you can get in a room, have a conversation and quickly map things out, and then you go away and you work from home and you do individual parts. But it's that process of coming together and bringing different components of linked initiatives that thrives with, being face-to-face. So, Kristy, I was on campus. We would have coffee, which was great. I'd often try and see who was around in advance of having a day on campus so that I could have lunch with somebody or, have coffee with somebody and connect with all of the people that I would usually just see in passing, because my role is industry facing, but it's also one that works across the university. I work with a lot of different people, and it's, pre-COVID was so lovely. You just walk around the campus and you bump into half a dozen people that you knew and see how they were. And, if you had something quick to discuss with them, you'd be like, oh yeah, how is that opportunity going? And they'd give you a little bit of an update, and things just kind of flowed in a really nice organic way, whereas now they need to have more sort of organisation driving them because we're working in this blended way. And with working from home, it's about reaching out on Teams. So it's about changing the way that you establish an authentic connection with people, which to me, it doesn't feel as natural in an online context, but I think that's just experience. Like, it's not something that I've done as much to date as, just seeing people and being around them. So I think it's interesting. No, but I'll be definitely back on campus as soon as things start to open up, and I think our team is eager to get back onto. I think pre-lockdown number 5, I think I was on campus those few weeks leading into that lockdown. I was on campus like 4 days a week.
Same. Yeah, that was great. Yeah. I loved that. And I missed that. I miss that it as interaction. Well. Yeah, I miss just, I don't know, just the process of driving to work, getting into work, finding a car park, getting coffee. It's, and just miss seeing lots of different people around the campus. But that'll come back soon enough.
It will. I feel like when we're on campus, the day has a nice punctuation to it, Like it flows really nicely. And like you said, that drive into work and then that drive out of work and the coffee in between the day, it just adds a flow that, you know, is natural in those kind of instances. But when you're working from home, it's something that you need to create for yourself. You need to put time in your diary to go for a walk, or you need to
lunch break. Yeah. Like it's 2:45 yet and I haven't had lunch yet.
Oh,
and
no.
It's like today's just like we were talking about this the other day. You need to stop and make time for a walk or for your lunch.
Exactly.
Just take a break. But today's been one of those days. It just hasn't sort of stopped. You the same, Ash? Do you make time for breaks? I mean, I was just talking about how
I wasn't great at that on campus. Like on campus, it's unless I had a meeting in another building, that's when I'd have a course stop and eat something. So I think also it's something you said, Dominique, it's what's natural, but you'd also said it's what we're used to. So I always kind of think, what am I trying to say? I wonder how much of it this is what we're used to, so we are better at compartmentalising our day on campus because the majority of universities are set up as face-to-face working environments. But I have a friend of mine that works in educational software for secondary. The organisation she works for is remote. It's been remote since she started. So they have sort of very established engagement strategies and practices and casual chats and things. And I think we're starting to see at different organisations at Swinburne, I think we're starting to see some really good practices about how we engage in connections for an informal to cater for hybrid work as well, because some people do like a 4 or 5 day on campus. Some people like a blend. Some people would work from home entirely. It's interesting, Deloitte has said to all their staff, work wherever you want. We care about the job you do as opposed to where you do it from. So I think it's a really interesting, I suppose, work revolution that we're seeing, because
it is
an interesting time, and where I would like to see on campus though. So I'm definitely a hybrid person, and I would say because I do have a lot of meetings, a lot of that's actually easier when they're to do at home, and when it is more the workshop collaboration, mapping things out, I absolutely prefer those on campus. And I would love to see that when we have, I say when, I'm hopeful, just really much bigger office spaces that are hot desk space, because even currently in Teams, one of the things working remotely is we don't accidentally bump into people and have corridor conversations. But on campus, you only accidentally bumped into people that you share the corridors with. So we're talking about the on-campus, but we're primarily talking about things between probably from AMC and the AS building, where Dominique, a lot of it's now social sciences, media, film, animation staff are down to SPS and along Wakefield Street. But that's not including Luton Lane.
No.
So a lot of people
remote.
bumped into Luton Lane. And so the people at Luton Lane will commonly bump into people at Luton Lane. And then it depends on where you're working. So I would love to see even bigger spaces, because at the moment, whether we're on campus or online, we're only bumping into people we already bump into. A big open hot desking space with bookable quiet spaces or bookable small meeting spaces would mean just have more chances to bump into people that we wouldn't otherwise get to know.
Last question for you, Dominique, before we wrap up. Tell us, what does the back end of the year look like for you?
I mean, I'm hoping it'll slow down. Things have been actually incredibly busy for this front half of the year, with the development of the account management framework and some of our major partnerships, charging along at full pace. So it will be good to see things kind of settle in. And we've done, like I said earlier, a lot of business process improvement work. to help our team work more efficiently. So it'll be good to reap the benefits of that and have, a sort of smoother and softer sort of end to the year. Be nice. I mean, it probably won't happen. I probably jinxed myself now. Things are going to be so crazy busy, and there's going to be opportunities coming from everywhere.
Maybe. Hey, have you got any holidays booked in?
Oh, look, I mean, I've tried.
Time off? Yeah.
I think it's got to the point where I need a change of scenery. So as soon as things open up, I might take, a couple of days and physically go somewhere. I've got a really good friend of mine lives in Bendigo. So even if I just go for the weekend and stay with her, she's got a little one.
Sounds like a great idea. Yeah. I think
so that might be
craving a different change of scenery. I know I am.
Yeah.
Connection and reconnection of staff is the theme of the podcast, Dominique, as you already know, because I know you listen to all our podcasts.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for their listeners? Like mine was to get back on campus and align the same working days with other colleagues, which is what you've tried to do. But do you have any tips for connection and reconnection?
I would just say don't be afraid to reach out to people, because I've started just emailing the people that I used to bump into on campus or that I used to have coffee with regularly and just saying, hi, how are you going? How are things? How are your family? And sort of sparking a conversation and a connection that way. And, maybe that's not how I would usually keep in touch with those people, but it's been a good way to sort of reestablish those connections in this new sort of hybrid way that we're working. And don't be afraid, because I kind of think, if I'm not emailing someone with a purpose, like why am I going to be adding extra things to their inbox?
But I agree. I did something sweet this week to some people in our teams and groups and all the rest of it. I think I took a photo of a big bunch of flowers and sent them around. Yeah.
It's lovely.
Just to brighten up days, and I feel like that's my little way of trying to tap into. As we wrap up the podcast, we just wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of the Podcast Professionals with Kristy and Ash. And
thanks for having me.
It's been really interesting chatting to you and learning a little bit more about your role. It's super busy and kind of high profile.
I don't know about that, but he was super busy. But I like being busy.
Part of the podcast is definitely, this is a good space to talk yourself up. I talk us up all the time, shamelessly, in fact.
It sounds like you're really tapping into all the moonshot stuff as well. So,
absolutely. And I mean, I get to work with some really high-profile people across the university, which is great exposure and a great learning experience. I can sit in meetings with, the directors and executives, and I feel like I'm getting a masterclass in, marketing or whatever their sort of area of expertise is, which is great.
And now you can add this to your CV.
Absolutely. Professional podcaster.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dominique, for being a part of the podcast, and we really look forward to seeing you back on campus and being back on campus and sharing a cup of coffee with you soon.
Likewise. Thanks so much, and you take care of yourselves.
Well, Ash, let's do the post-admin wrap of this latest podcast. How do you think it went? Please give me a score out of 10.
So I've been doing 11 out of 10.
Yes, you have.
I think the last podcast was hilarious. I think we've had excellent conversation with Dominique. It was amazing to meet her. So I think it's time to up us to 12 out of 10. I think that's great.
All righty. Yep, I agree with you there. I think this has been another excellent podcast and really enjoying it, have to say. It's been an absolute cracker of a podcast. And this one, hopefully we're out of lockdown or out of somewhere, who knows where we'll be when this one's released. But Good on you, Ash. Thank you so much for your time again. And we'll be sharing this on the Yammer and everywhere else. So please, everybody, yell out if you've got some topics that you'd like us to discuss, or hell, if anybody wants to be interviewed,
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. Or job a colleague in to be interviewed.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You could email us and do that anonymously.
Yes.
Nominate a colleague for a podcast session.
Tanya Sabatino, she gave us a colleague that we don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So we'll be reaching out, and if you are nominating a colleague anonymously, you need to tell us if your nomination needs to stay anonymous. Otherwise,
indeed,
we, may put our foot in our mouth a bit.
Yeah. All right, Ash. Well, as we end up this episode, we want to thank everyone, and we look forward to chatting to you next time. Over and out. See you later.